So one of the things that have really surprised me during this entire journey, if you can call it that, is about brain injury and how little things can really cause damage on a long-term basis. Now, let me explain. I was listening to a video, an interview on that they were doing an interview with Brett Favre, and for those of you who don't know, he's one of the most legendary quarterbacks of all time, the Supreme, I believe it was Green Bay Packers, and he was talking with Dr. Omalu, who is the doctor behind the movie Concussion with Will Smith, and how he discovered CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, in which there's continual damage as a result of blows to the head or even to the body. And basically, Dr. Malu asked Brett how many concussions he thought he had, and he was saying like maybe 20, 30, 40. And Malu shook his head and he said, well, that's not exactly so. That because concussions are not necessarily when you lose consciousness. So he asked it he asked the question in a different way. He said, how many times have you been knocked down? You've seen stars. You were a bit hazy for a little while. You seemed befuddled in a way. And then Brett Favre said, oh wow, that was thousands of times. And Malu said, that's the number of concussions you have had. And that blew my thinking completely, because it was like, whoa, this changes a lot of things. And I add that to the interviews I've had with a doctor, a military, they call them physiatrists, that public physical therapy plus medicine from Walter Reed Hospital. And she was talking about how simple things like just blasts, just loud noises. You're next to the mortar, you're firing rounds, you're firing really heavy artillery, you're next to it. That's just those, not just the loud sounds, but the blast, the wind compression that happens as a result of those blasts are also tiny brain injuries, transient brain injuries that compound over time and can lead to severe problems, mental health problems in the future, including depression, anxiety, suicide ideations, and of course, dementia. So it behooves us to really look at brain injury and look at the threats again, in a broader sense, look at the threats against our brains, the threats to our brains, and say, hey, listen, we've got to take this more seriously. And I'm thinking about, even from a younger age now, I think Daniel Amen says that if you've played American football at any level, you have an 80% likelihood you've had some sort of brain damage. He was speaking to a crowd, and he says, 80% of you, if you've played, 80% of those of you in the crowd who have played football at any level has had some sort of brain damage. And then he went on to say how it affects your mental health long term. Because what happens is that that damage, that trauma, it sets off a chain reaction in the brain that's maybe it's not going to show up in 1 year or even a decade from when it happened, but over time, it has to do with some of what they call the glial cells or the support cells that are triggered, and they stay triggered throughout the person's lifetime if nothing is done. So, speaking to mothers now, soccer moms, moms of football players in their early teens and so on, if they must, and of course, there's only so much you can do to stop them from playing. If you must, giving them solid omega-3 supplements, anti-inflammatories, and probably antioxidants as part of their daily regimen should be a must for you. So when you're packing the Gatorade, the Monster, the 5-hour energy, or whatever it is that you pack into their lunchbox when they're going to training, remember to add an omega-3 supplement, vitamin D supplement as well, and an antioxidant, so that whatever injury they think they may have had or not had, their brains there's covering fire. Let's put it that way. They're not covering fire. So even if there's damage or trauma, at least there's some protection that's in the system that is reducing the severity of the impact. I cannot stress that enough, and I think it's to be regretted that this is not standard treatment. This is not standard practice, especially in the younger age group, and it should be done everywhere. I mean, I'm in Baltimore. The Ravens are right not too far, a couple of miles away from me. So this is a big footballing town, and I don't know if this is their standard practice. It should be for every football team. Every football player should be on high dose omega-3s, and by high dose I mean at least 4 grams a day, at least 4 grams a day. Right, and of course vitamin B, and I would say 10,000 international units. So that's my thoughts. I hope you take this to heart. If you want to know more about our talks and of course our course called Keeping Your Marbles, or everything you need to know and do to protect and keep your brain healthy up until your 90s and beyond, just check out the link somewhere around this video. Take care, bye.